Call to order the Grant County Board of Commissioners regular meeting November 9th, 2017. Welcome everybody. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Mine was here. I just closed mine. Mine was here. Okay, first item on the agenda today is the approval of the regular meeting agenda. Managers, anything changes you know of? Commissioners, any changes? Can I get a motion? Second. A motion is second to approve the regular meeting agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. And at this point, we will stand for a report from the Gila Regional Medical Center. Jill, Beth, and Taffy are here today. Good to see you, ladies.
Hi there, how are you? I brought muscle today. I just wanted to introduce to the commissioners and the audience our new surgeon, of whom I have been speaking to you about for a couple of months now. And this is Tariq. Come on up. This is Tariq Ibrahim, and he's our newest general surgeon. So I just wondered if he could say hello. Absolutely. Talk to you a little bit about what he will be doing in our community.
I got to meet him last Friday when I came and ate steaks. So.
Right. Good morning. My name is Tariq Ibrahim like Abraham. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks for having me here. It's a privilege. A little bit about me. I was born in Dallas, grew up in Abu Dhabi in the Emirates, and then back to Dallas, went to college there, medical school there at UT Southwestern, and then did my surgical training in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Hospital Center. It's a level 1 trauma center, burn center, heart center. And then after that, I started my career here in New Mexico, and it's been all in rural New Mexico, except for Las Cruces, which is not quite rural, but served a similar community. I started off at the Gallup Indian Medical Center with the Indian Health Service, working for the federal government. Spent about 2.5 years there. It was a fabulous opportunity. Mainly served the Navajo and Zuni tribes. And after that went to Ruidoso, worked for Presbyterian at the Lincoln County Medical Center for about 2 years, and then went to Mountain View Regional Medical Center in Las Cruces, where I was the trauma medical director, and now I'm very happy to be here. I plan on doing bread and butter general surgery as well as endoscopy. Over time, develop a trauma program, level 4 or level 3, depending on our interest and capacity, and otherwise just serve the community as best as I could. I'll attend the meeting, and I'll be happy to answer any questions afterwards. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Grant County.
All right, thank you. Thank you for being so kind to our new surgeon. We are extremely excited about it. As a segue into this, I will be telling you that we are looking for a larger site for our surgical services, where we will have our two surgeons that are employed by Gila Regional, and also the urologist. When we are successful at recruiting a urologist, he will be housed in that same building. So any insight you have into a building, I sure would appreciate your letting us know. Okay, in addition to that, I want to thank Commissioner Billings. He reached out to me last night regarding 2 questions, and I am just very, very pleased to be able to respond to those questions. One of the questions, is that all right, Commissioner Billings, that I share this? All right, very good. He was questioning the amount of time that the previous cancer center contract was providing for physicians on site. And I must tell you that before he raised that question, I had been told and was under the impression that it was once a week that we had a physician here from the previous group. His question spurred me to do some more investigation late last night, and I did reach out to people that had been working in that area before, and they said that when, I believe it was Dr. Clark was here, he was an extremely important and dedicated physician to that service and spent a lot of time here. And when he retired, they did start bringing in physicians twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't know the history behind that. I am going to look into it a little bit more, but and I don't know how long that was going on, and I don't know up until what point. But I will tell you this: the previous group did see a need toward the end of the contract to process patients and get patients in as quickly as possible and as many as possible to make sure that they had care up until the very end to sustain them until they could reach out to other providers to get them care, their chemo care and radiation. So I really would like to acknowledge that, because I think that was a really appropriate service for them to offer those patients. So in reaction to that, what we have done is we have reached out to UNM and acknowledged that perhaps that we need to, until we get a full-time provider, increase that amount of service, because it is taking a while to process our current patients, and at the same time we are increasing the amount of referrals and trying to process those also to get them into the system and get their care started. So we're reaching out to them again today. We have a call with them today to see what the possibility is to get another provider here to extend that service as we did before. So did I answer all your questions?
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. And again, I do appreciate your reaching out to me, and I'll try to get back to any of you as soon as possible with those answers to the question, and I appreciate that being brought to my attention. The other thing that, a question that he brought up was Molina Insurance, and what are we accepting from the community as far as, I guess, an extension of the Molina product. And I do want to share with you that I'm going to ask Jo Beth to come up and talk a little bit more about this, but as a hospital, we are having some issues with Molina as far as reimbursement and getting our bills processed. So there may be some concern on our part about expanding that product, especially when we're having so much problem on the front end with the core insurance product that they provide. But I am going to let Jo Beth speak a little bit more about that. So, Jo Beth, can you add a little bit more to that?
So what's happening?
Can I preface my question?
I'm sorry, what?
Before you speak, can I preface why I asked that question? I was told, and I don't know this to be any truth to it or not, and that's why I wanted to hear from you, that Molina is the most affordable of the, it is the most affordable carrier on the Affordable Health Care Act program available in New Mexico. That's what I was told, and that someone who wants to choose that most affordable plan with Molina can't get service at Gila Regional. So that's, and I have no idea if there's any basis in fact in any of this. I just was posing that question. So
Okay. Let me give you a little bit of background on that. We are having issues with Molina, and that is statewide. We have a program with the New Mexico Hospital Association that they are spearheading for us for all of the hospitals who are receiving problems getting their bills paid through Molina. It's a misconception to say that you can't get care at Healy Regional if you don't have, if you have Molina. You can, it's just at a higher rate because you're out of network with us. I had reached out a couple of times in the last few weeks to my contact that I had at Molina, and I found out yesterday that I had the wrong name. So our business office director is going to give me the names of that person. I will have them come down and speak to us because it's a problem not only with the hospital but with our clinics as well. So we are looking into that. And we do have the Blue Cross product. So we do have that. If anyone chooses Blue Cross, we do have the market for that one.
So, when you say you're out of network,
Are you out of net? Molina says you're out of network, right?
For some of their products. We do accept some Molina. So that's why we are having problems with some of their products. But for the one that you're referring to, is we are out of network with that one because we have not signed up for that one.
so it's a contractual problem?
It's getting the contract with them, and again, I was reaching out to the wrong person, I found out, so I will reach out to the correct person, and we will have them come down, and then we will negotiate a contract with them.
So it's not a matter of that they don't pay enough, it's more of a matter that they're not paying at all, and this contractual issue, those are the two issues. Am I getting that right?
It's not that they don't pay at all. It's that when, on our current contract, the one that we do have with them and we are submitting claims, they're denying things that are not denial. We have them, we can prove to them.
Undeniable.
Yeah, they're not on we're meeting the qualifications and they should be
Well, I think
paid.
that's insurance companies across
Yes.
the nation now is deny.
Yeah. No, that's exactly
And then they
right.
force you to go and fight for every dime.
Yeah,
and
no,
that's what you
that
guys
is
do.
correct. But that is the problem, and that's why, again, it's not just Gila Regional. It's a Molina issue, and we are working through that as well.
Thank you for that.
So I have a clarifying question. But you also said your current contract does not include some services that Molina has, and so what you're looking to do is renegotiate to include more services if you can get the billing thing figured out?
More products.
More products?
Yeah,
Okay.
services, we provide all services to everybody. It's their product that that patient wants to sign up to that we may not be enrolled in. Does that help? Probably not.
Can you give me a one sentence?
Okay,
What's the difference in the vernacular between a product and a service?
a service is what we offer as a hospital, like surgery, clinics, etc. The product is like when you sign up for your insurance, you have different options of which one you want to take.
Okay.
That's what this is.
So the plan
Yes.
level? Okay, all right, thank you for that clarification.
All right?
All right.
Any other questions?
Not about insurance.
Thank you.
Right, don't go anywhere. So I do want to let you know, even though we cannot give you the definitive number at this point because we have not presented it to our board and it has to come there first. Last month is looking a lot better financially than the previous few months that we have had. A lot of that has to do with cleanup of processes that we have been doing. As you know, I've talked to you before about inadequate accounting principles that Joe Beth and I have been able to uncover, and we're dealing with as quickly as possible. But I will let Joe Beth speak to this, but I wanted to leave the financial piece in a positive note that this past month is looking a lot better than previous months. So I'm going to speak to that.
Okay.
I'm setting her up.
She is, this is... Okay, so very quickly, I will go over September, and I know you asked last time you wanted comparisons. So for this month, your admissions, and I want to preface this with your admissions over your statistics overall, your volume, we are in line. We are doing fine with where we were last year, the exception being the outpatient. And again, that is a result of the cancer center not being open for this last month. So as a comparison, last year we did 838 cancer center visits. This year we did 0. So that's what's driving your outpatient volume is going down. And in addition to that are your pharmacy and your labs and your radiology that go with that. But everything else, your volumes are in line. Your admissions last year were 147, we were 149 this year. Outpatient visits, 3,907, we were 2,886 this year. ER visits, 1,349 last year, 1,374 this year. And total surgeries, 337 last year, 347 this year. So everything else is moving along like we should, and we're doing well, and as soon as we get the cancer center back up and running, you'll fall back in place. So when you have that kind of decrease in volume, you're also going to have that decrease in revenue. So we went from 18 million last year to 14 million this year. We went from 5.5 net revenue to 3.9, roughly $4 million. And your total expense, again, they're dropping like they should. So you've got 6.1 million last year compared to 4.9 million this year. So that leaves you in excess of revenue over expense. Last year you lost $814,000. This year we're losing 1.3 million. Okay. Just as some of our other key indicators, our days cash on hand, we were at 97.58 last year. We're at 52.8 this year. And I'm sorry, days cash on hand, 97.58 last year and 52.8 this year. Days in net AR, 46 last year and 43.6 this year. So coming down, which is a good thing. Days in AP, 41 last year and 44.9 this year. And our daily expense, which is something we track, we're at 199,000 a day last year. We're at 187,000 this year. Any questions on any of that I can help? I'm sorry, what did you say?
52.8 days of cash?
The 52.8, that's as of September 30. And the thing about your cash is that when you look at it, we all know we've had some issues with some cash flow coming in this year, but when you look at it, it's staying steady for the last 5 or 6 months. You're in your 50s, which is not great, but it's not dropping down. Like, you know, if it was really dropping down, then we have some real concerns. But your cash is pretty much holding steady across there.
What are we doing proactively to collect more cash?
There's a lot of things that we are doing, and a lot of this, we talk about the revenue cycle all the time, about how much we're trying to capture more revenue. So we capture more revenue. We work it right on the front end so that we're able to get that bill out. And then we have better processes in place from registration all the way through to the time that bill either gets paid or it's denied. So we have denial people that are now working on denials and sending those back to the insurers and saying we need this cash in. We're working on our upfront collections, which means when the patient comes in, we are asking them for their copay or deductible. So there's a lot of things that we're working on that will move this picture forward, but it does take some time when you're talking revenue cycle.
And what percentage do you feel is being collected as of now?
Percentage of total?
Yes.
We're somewhere around a 30% collection rate, which is about where we'd like for that to be better, but when you're talking your biggest payers are Medicare and Medicaid, you're going to get what they pay, and that's about what they pay. Okay? In reference to what Taffy was speaking at, we are in the final stages of closing October, and while we're at a loss, it is significantly less. So those aren't final numbers, or I would give them to you now, but what we're looking at is we're doing a deep dive and seeing what all is out there, and for right now, that's what we're looking at. So it is moving in the right direction, even if it is still a loss. Any questions?
Questions, Chris?
So I think I understood you to say revenue was down 18 million last year to 14 million?
Yes, sir. We were down about 4 million.
And I think I understood you to say that most of that's attributed to the cancer center being shut down.
The priority of it is yes, because when you shut down your visits, so we had the 838 cancer center visits that are just gone, but then with every cancer center you're going to have your pharmacy, you'll have lab, you'll have radiology, so those are dropping in addition to just the cancer center.
So that gives hope to the community that when the cancer center is completely up and running, offering radiology, I'm sorry, I don't know the terms, but radiology treatment and everything, when it's back like it was, then revenue will be back and the hospital will not be losing that kind of money.
Yes, sir. That is my sincere opinion, that that's what will happen. Once we get everything going again with the cancer center, your volumes are going to come right back up, your revenue's going to be up with it. Now we'll have better processes in place to make sure we track it from start to finish and get that money in here. So yes, I see where you should be, much better shape about 3 or 4 months down the road when we get everything geared up.
So would it be accurate for me to say it wouldn't, but so maybe you can help me. How much did it cost not having a transition at the cancer center?
That's a question that's come up, and again, part of our struggles that we've had since I've been here is trying to extract good data out of our system. So I can't really give you a dollar amount for that. I can say that the bulk of this is because of the cancer center. When you lose that kind of revenue, it's definitely going to have an effect on you. But our system, unfortunately, was not capturing in a manner the way that we should have, so I can tell you definitively this is what it is. We're working on that as well, but we're not there either.
And I just have to say this. You were not here when that happened. Taffy wasn't here. She came in late. I'm not sure. I know you haven't been here since last year. So this has no reflection on you. And we really appreciate what you're doing to come in with the transition and so quickly, because Dr. Willman the other day said this was a process that should have taken 12 months to 18 months, not what we've had a little over 3 months. So understanding that you are here, I just hope that I hope the Board of Trustees know all of this information.
Yes, sir. They get full reports every month.
All right. So I hope they can process it.
Other questions? So on your 30% collection rate, that means for every dollar you bill, you get 30 cents in. That doesn't mean you're only billing for 30% of the procedures done. Okay. Because there's a perception out there in the county that that's the truth, and it's not the truth.
So let me just say one thing. Hospital accounting is a totally different animal than anything else, any type of accounting. So yes, we bill everybody the same dollar amount. If you come in for a lab and your Medicare self-pay, you get charged the same amount for all of that. It's just that the way Medicare and Medicaid pay, you're only going to get a fraction of that. So a 30% is not that bad. I would like to see it higher, but I've seen it worse.
Yeah. So the other question I have is a personal experience. A family member had a procedure, nothing important, but when we got the bill, it's just a bill on a plain sheet of paper, kind of, that says Healing Regional, that you owe this much, and it might be for all these things. You're probably not going to get paid as quickly as if it had some itemization on there to make people feel good that maybe their insurance company's already dealt with it, declined it. If they need to go fight with their insurance company, I knew I already owed it because my insurance company had already told me that I owed it, and I paid it. But there's some people out there that if they don't get some, and I know that there's other members up here that have had the same issue. So that's just for whatever it's worth. I think you need a little more information on your invoices.
Okay, thank you. I'll go back and look at that.
Any more questions for Joe Bass?
Nope.
Okay, the last thing I'd like to share with you is that I spoke to you last time about doing these individual town hall meetings with individual departments. And so far, I have held 15 department town hall meetings, each one lasting between an hour and a half and 2 hours. We have met day, night, afternoon, whatever was convenient for that department, because all departments don't function in the same hours that I do. So that has been very, very helpful. It's been helpful, I think, for them to see that transparency. It's also been helpful for me because I have been able to solicit their input on many issues that I may not have even known were issues if had it not been for those town hall meetings. We're also doing what's called Survey Monkeys. I don't know if you are familiar with those. to get input from the staff on various things, such as our food service, hours of operation, those types of things, and we will be adjusting based on that input. So just wanted to share that with you.
I'd be interested in knowing what kind of participation rate you have on your survey.
Oh, yes, I will be glad to let you know that.
If people are getting apathetic, you may not get a lot of, and that'll give you an indication of that.
Correct, yes. But, you know, these town halls have been going very, very well. People have been very outspoken. They have shared concerns. They have shared fears. They have shared interactions that they have received from past leaders, and a sense of where we need to make great adjustments with them. So, anything else?
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you.
Have a nice rest of the day.
You also.
All right, so we'll stand for public input now. During this portion of our meeting, we welcome your suggestions and want to hear your concerns. It's not a question and answer period. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Any individual who would like to discuss an item in more depth may request to be placed on a future agenda. Request forms are available at the county manager's office. So at this time, is there anybody that wants to do public input? Donna, you get to go first. Please state your name for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Donna Stevens. I'm the Executive Director of the Upper Gila Watershed Alliance. I want to comment about an agenda item to send a letter to the New Mexico Department of Transportation requesting authorization to drive OHVs on some segments of some state highways. I have to say that I am genuinely puzzled about this agenda item, because I know that the county and the county commissioners are deeply concerned about residents' well-being. The ordinance allowing OHVs on county-maintained roads just passed a couple of months ago, and I don't believe we've had a chance yet to assess its impact on public safety. Many members of the community, including me, were opposed to the passage of this ordinance, but it passed anyway, and I accept that. What I don't understand, though, is why we can't allow a reasonable amount of time to elapse before we take the step of authorizing OHVs to drive on state highways as well as county-maintained roads. So I'm urging the Commission to table this letter and wait at least a year so we can see how this whole thing plays out. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Could you guys please talk into your microphones? I have extreme trouble hearing in this room. I don't know if I'm the only one, but it's very difficult. So please talk into your mics. Thank you.
You're not the only one. I remember having that trouble when I was attending the meetings last year. I tried to do that. Could you hear that, by the way?
I could hear that.
Okay.
And I've got a cold, so it's just not going to be very loud. Maybe I need a surgeon. Who knows? Okay, public input. Any other? Go ahead. Please state your name for the record. You got one too.
Excuse me. There's allergy season or something going on. So I'm Christina Wolford. I'm the Executive Director of SPIN, Supporting People in Need. And I noticed that you guys are going to pass the Stepping Up resolution today, which I think is amazing. We've already been working really hard on a lot of components of this, and SPIN in particular has been working hard on the housing piece. So I just wanted to remind my commissioners that our housing project, a permanent supportive housing project, stands to save the county a lot of money in reduction in use of the jail and the emergency room. So we're really hoping for your support as our project moves forward. We have recently identified land and are working to get it under contract. And again, we're just excited to see you guys are on board, and we're all moving in the same momentum. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public input. One more time. Yes, sir.
Good morning. is Robert Eagle, just a resident of Grant County. Just wanted to make a comment regarding the OHV recreational vehicle thing. I think there should be more time for the public to make comment, and I would hope that you guys could table it for a while. I just heard about it last night when read about it. It's the first time I even heard about it. So I think Grant County needs more time to assimilate this. Other members of the county. So I would just let me comment is that I hope that you guys table this thing as per her recommendation. I agree with her. I think we need more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further public input? Going once? Okay. You guys need to get your hands up. He was tall, wasn't he?
He was. Bring this way down. I would just like to reiterate what Christina Wolford said about the Stepping Up program. I'm with the local chapter of the ACLU, and we met with the detention center last week, and Michael Creel is just very excited about that possibility for the jail, and I think it really will improve the community, so I'm glad that you're going to be discussing that today.
I'm sorry, I missed your name.
My name is Emily Pollum. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, further public input? Going once? Twice? Moving on. Next item on the agenda is minutes. We'll do those together. Approve, disapprove October 17th work session minutes and the October 19th regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve both the October 17 work session minutes and the October 19 regular meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to approve the October 17th work session minutes, the October 19th regular meeting minutes. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Financial reports. Linda, can you go through the... We won't do the expenditure report, but I wanted to go through the financial report. Okay? Do the financial report for us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. The financial report that you have is for the period ending September 30th, 2017. And I'll go over the general, the road, and the detention center. In the general fund, we began with a cash balance of $3,566,077. To date, we have received revenues of $898,485, with transfers out of $580,000. The expenditures to date are $2,506,119, with a quarter ending cash balance of $1,378,443. In the road fund, we started a cash balance at the beginning of the fiscal year of $144,108, with revenues to date of $182,090, transfers to date of $150,000, and expenditures to date of $414,262, leaving us with a quarter-ending cash balance of $61,935. In the detention center, we had a beginning cash balance of $152,730, with revenues to date of $155,105, transfers into the detention center of $350,000, and expenditures to date of $646,350, leaving us with a quarter-ending cash balance of $11,485. Any questions?
Questions in there? Okay, can you get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the financial report as presented by Linda.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the financial report ending September 30th, 2017. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We went over the expenditure report on Tuesday. As previous commission meetings, we've decided to only go over it once. So can I get a motion to approve the November 1st
So moved.
Second.
expenditure report? The motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. New business, approve or disapprove the vacation of the Turnerville plat.
Mr. Chair, I move that we, I'm so confused this morning. I move that we approve to vacate the Turnerville plat.
I second.
So motion is second to vacate the Turnerville plat. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Is that all you were here for, Tom? Yeah. I thought you came to say hi. Okay. Approve or disapprove Lodgers Tax Advisory Board reappointment. We only have one member, or one person requesting that. So,
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve Douglas Dinwiddie as the appointment to the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board.
I'll second that.
there's a motion second to approve Doug Dinwiddie to the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove the OHV letter to the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Mr. Chair, I move that we table this item so that we can schedule some public input into the process.
I second that motion.
The motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Oh, you do?
Well, I would, actually, I was hoping that some of you all would talk about it, but I would like to reiterate, I think, what I said on Tuesday, just because now we're in Thursday's meeting. When we passed the ordinance for the county 2 months ago, there were a lot of expressions of concern about the effect on public safety, the effect on the people who drive ROVs on county roads and other users of those roads, bicyclists and motorists alike. I am satisfied that we did a good job of improving that ordinance so that it addressed those issues. I believe it was a safe ordinance, and it will improve the options available to our residents and our visitors. But I have to admit, I'm not sure, and I don't think any of us can be sure that it is in fact going to be a safe change in our county. And I think it's prudent that we wait to evaluate the effect of that ordinance on road safety. Jumping to expand it to highways where the stakes are considerably higher, I believe is premature. I haven't coordinated at all with any of the speakers, but they've mentioned things that I agree with, except that I believe 2 years is more appropriate than 1 year to gather the kinds of statistics we need. It's appropriate, I think, as a public body to act cautiously when public safety is at stake. And that's my position, that we need to evaluate how what we've done so far works out before we expand it to potentially very dangerous highways.
Thank you.
I appreciate all the comment from Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Edwards in our work session, and I want them to know I listened to what they said in the public comment today. So I don't think it's within our purview to, as a county, to evaluate this. I think what we're doing by this letter is asking the state to evaluate it. The State Highway Department, who is qualified, as was pointed out, and as I know, a lot of these guys, and I say guys because I don't know any ladies or people who aren't guys, are already driving on the roads, whether it's legal or not. And that creates a public safety situation. I'd like the State Highway Department to look at this and advise us on it. And actually, they won't advise us on it. They'll be making the decision. Yeah, so I guess the only other thing I'd add to that is, this has taken some time from the county staff, and I just don't want them to. We have so many important things. I think they need to be focused on that, not going back to the drawing board. So that's just my position.
Further discussion? Well, obviously, this is a letter that I asked to be written, so I'm a proponent of it. I don't think that we need more time to study it. I think as much time as I've spent in Arizona and Show Low, I've watched them be used for years. I feel as though they're somewhat of an economic development driver. If somebody drives over here and wants to spend a little money, and it may not be very much. I'm not saying this is going to fix the economy of Silver City, We need 100 of these things to do that, not just one. So I'm going to vote against to table that, but that's just me. Anything else?
Can we go ahead and move on with the vote?
We can go ahead. So there's a motion at this time to table the letter, OHV letter to New Mexico Department of Transportation. And since I know this isn't going to be unanimous, I'm going to ask Marissa to take a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, so you're voting on the tabling or?
On the table.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
Commissioner Billings?
No.
Commissioner Ramos?
No.
Chairman Caston?
No.
Commissioner Edwards? Aye.
The motion fails. Can I get a motion to approve or disapprove the OHV letter to the New Mexico Department of Transportation?
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
The motion is second to approve the OHV letter to New Mexico Department of Transportation. Marissa, can I get a roll call vote again?
I'm sorry, I don't know what just happened here. Did you guys just table it?
No.
Did it get passed to send the letter?
We voted not to table it, now we're voting on whether to send the letter. We're going to have a vote right now on whether to send the
The
letter.
first motion was to table. That motion failed. The current motion is to approve. It has a second, and we're voting on it now.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
No.
Commissioner Billings?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Chairman Caston?
Yes.
Commissioner Edwards?
No.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is approve or disapprove the dedication of roads in the Branding Iron Subdivision.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the dedication of roads in the Branding Iron subdivision.
There's a motion and a second to approve the dedication of roads in the Branding Iron subdivision. We want to make sure that the public is aware that this does not mean we are taking these roads for maintenance. I've met with the road superintendent on Tuesday and explained the issues I saw in taking these roads for maintenance in the future, and I think he's going to be very diligent on making sure that this subdivider brings those up to standard before that happens.
Will that have to be approved by the commission?
Okay.
Now, can we put stipulations on this?
On this part?
No. I mean, on this part. Because I guess my biggest concern is just to make sure that those boulders and that rock is clear. That comes later? Okay, I just want to make sure we don't... Okay, just the dedication. Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay. So, any further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove inventory removed from the Grant County Road Department to be slated for auction. How do I get back? Oh, that's out.
Mine did the same thing as last time. I have to get out and get back in.
Really?
Maybe I'm not...
Okay.
Make sure I'm 2 bucks time between the two.
Then you can move back and forth between them.
I do differently, she said.
Okay, so we have a 1996 Dodge Ram pickup, a 1993 F-250 pickup, a 1992 F-350 pickup, and a 1995 F-150 pickup. This is to allow the road department to slate those vehicles for auction.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the disposal of, or the inventory removed from the Grant County Road Department to be slated for auction.
Nice second.
Motion is second to approve the inventory removed from the Grant County Road Department. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove sublease of space in the Members Senior Center in regards to the lease agreement between HMS and Grant County.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the sublease of space in the Member Senior Center building in regards to the lease agreement between HMS and Grant County.
The motion is second to approve the sublease to the Member Senior Center. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify. It says verbal only.
It's verbal only.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
This might save paper, but I'm not sure it's going to save time.
Somebody told me the other day that, it was Bernadette, said that after 6 months of using this, the board at the bank was like whizzing through it and they loved it. So in 6 months, we'll be good.
In the meantime, this might generate revenue for Healer Beach, so my nerves are, I need a nerve shot.
Okay, item K. Approve or disapprove distribution reversion funding application for the fiscal year 2018 DWI Grant Agreement Project 18DG10.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the 2018 DWI Grant Agreement Project 18-D-G-10.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve 2018 DWI Grant Agreement 18DG10. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove amendment number 2 to the agreement A15-8 with New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and the Emergency Management Subgrant number PDMC-PL-NM 2014-006 for hazard mitigation plan. Yeah, nobody wants to say it.
I'd like to make the motion we approve amendment number 2 to agreement number A15-08.
That's been second. There's a motion and a second to approve A1508, the amendment to A1508. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove agreement number A1741, Grant County Bus Drivers Bargaining Unit Contract for 2017-19. We went over this on Tuesday also.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the agreement number A17-41.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to approve A1741. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair, I would just like to note for the record, same as I did on Tuesday, that the funding for this comes specifically from federal transportation funds that are specifically for Corps Meals.
And I want to thank Commissioner Edwards for her service on the committee that oversees this. With your recommendation, I have no questions at all.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Forgot where we were there for a second. Approve or disapprove agreement number A1742, lease agreement with Matthew Orman for a hangar site at the Grant County Airport.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve agreement number A17-42.
These computers have made us where we can't even talk.
That's right.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second to approve A1742. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove agreement number A1743, lease agreement with John Sherman for a hangar site at the Grant County Airport.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to approve A1743. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And motion passes. It was a weak pass, but it passed.
Aye.
I forget to say aye.
Approve or disapprove resolution number R1752, allocation of funding for the 2018 Colonias application. Misha went over that with us on Tuesday.
Chair, I move that we approve resolution number R1752.
I'll second that.
The motion and second to approve R1752. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I better get out the emergency right away.
You're surrounded. Approve or disapprove resolution R-1753, a resolution authorizing Grant County to enter into a lease or purchase agreement with Caterpillar Financial Corporation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve resolution number R-1753.
Second?
Motion is second to approve R-1753 for a blades. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Approve or disapprove resolution R-1754, resolution stepping up to reduce the number of people with mental illness in jails.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the motion that we approve resolution number R-1754.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve R-1754. Is there any discussion on that motion?
The discussion is, there's a presentation on the 16th.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of that presentation is mainly for me to determine what willing partners are out there, but I can extend that to you. There will be a follow-up presentation where you are all
So that wasn't
see
the
more
public.
information. But I mean, I will let you know when it is. But it is, we've invited potential partners to the table that are critical to the core component of that, as far as my opinion. Judges, VA, hospital, HMS, those individuals, to see if they feel that they have the resources and the ability to participate moving forward. And then I'll determine from that point what we're going to be able to do and come back.
Okay, so there'll be another time the commissioners. Okay,
But
I'll
you're
take that
more
up.
than welcome to participate if you would like.
Oh, okay, thank
I'll
you.
get that information to you.
That's it.
All right, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove resolution R-1755. This is the budget adjustments Linda went over with us on Tuesdays. Anybody want to hear them again? No? You sure?
I do.
Chair, I vote that we approve resolution number R-17-55.
I'll second that.
Motion is second to approve R-1755. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Approve or disapprove bid number B-1705. This is hauling and delivery of pit run and other road materials for the Grant County Road Department. Staff has asked us to table that. Can I get a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second to table B-1705. Is there any discussion on the motion? You think it'll take you a month or two to sort out your issues? Okay. Let's give it a 2-month timetable. So we'll put this back on January's.
That's not a problem for Earl.
Okay. January's. Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes to table B-1705. Same thing with B-1706
I move the table.
to January.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I second that. The motion is second to table B-1706 until the January meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? I did get a second, right?
I did.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Can I get a motion to recess the Grant County Board of Commissioners?
I so move.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Call to order the Grant County Healthcare Claims Board. And one item on the agenda, to approve or disapprove the October 2017 health plan claims. See if I can get to that. Stay up. The health plan claims this month are, we had 9 claims for $27,343.33. We had 2 ambulance claims for $1,379.75 for a total of $28,723.08.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to make the recommendation until we can get further information from Gila Regional, what the reason for the delay in the claims they've submitted from May. One is a claim in the amount of $902, the other in the amount of $13,395, that you disapprove those two claims and approve the remainder for a total of $13,900.27.
Okay, we have a recommendation from management to, what was the number again? Total?
$13,900.27.
And that is leaving the two May
Yes.
requests out.
Yes, there is a claim from May in the amount of $902 and another claim from May in the amount of $13,395.
Okay.
Chair, I'd like to move that we approve the claims for the indigent fund dated in September or October on this report.
There's a motion and a second to approve partial list of the claims on the health plan claims for $13,927. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Can I get a motion to adjourn the healthcare claims board?
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Call back to order the Grant County Board of Commissioners. At this time, we will stand for elected officials' reports. Sheriff, you're going to have to give them all today. You and Marissa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm going to go over my report for the month of October stats. For October 2017 in our patrol division, we had a total of 682 calls for service. We did take 158 reports, and we investigated 29 motor vehicle crashes. We did serve 71 warrants, and in the majority of these calls we had burglaries. We had 16 burglaries in the month of October, which was an increase from 9 in September. Can't stress enough to the community to please be observant and please call in any suspicious activity in their areas. Anything that we can use to get the deputies out there to even look into what's going on and maybe run license plates and keep an eye on what's going on in these communities. I ask the community for their help with that. As you guys are all aware, the city's been dealing a lot with the lion. They did get one of them, and apparently there's still one that's on the loose that they're still trying to capture. I know that I did get a call yesterday that they brought in a trapper to try and trap this other lion, and we're hoping that they're successful. We haven't had an update on it yet, but that is going on, and just be observant with your children out there. In stats for stats for October 2017 in the Civil Process Division, we served 417 papers to include DVO, subpoenas, and writs. We had 13 round-trip transports to prisons and other facilities for a total of 6,025 miles. And I'm running shorthanded in that division right now with because I have moved people to cover patrol because of our short staff, but we've been able to manage that. And I want to thank the staff for taking on the extra roles and duties of our shifting around in the office. It's been quite a challenge, but we're keeping up with the extra workload. Currently, I have the new hires going through the FTO training program, which is the Field Training Officer Program. I have 3 of them assigned with an FTO, and I do have one attending the Cert by Waiver in Santa Fe. This deputy went up on Sunday, and she'll be gone for 2 weeks going through the Cert by Waiver. So when she gets back, then we'll put her through the FTO and hopefully get her out on the street. We had no issues on Halloween night. We did have extra patrols out that night. One of our mainly populated areas that we work with on Halloween night is Tyrone. I had reports that there was very minimal traffic out there and trick-or-treaters. The trunk-or-treats that are going around in the community have really put an impact on people going out and trick-or-treating, which is a good thing. I think it's confined to an area, and it's actually taking off pretty good. So there was quite a few more this year that put out trunk-or-treats, and that was really a positive thing. Other than that, I know that
been informed that there's possibly 3 more individuals retiring by the end of this year, which is next month, and I have 2 that have applied. Apparently, I have not confirmed yet, that are in the process of backgrounds through the state police, so there's a possibility of losing more individuals, and I need to get moving on trying to get this fixed. So other than that, I have nothing else to report unless you have any questions.
Any questions for the sheriff?
Do you happen to know that if those 2 get put into the state, are they going to be local here? Or based local in this area? Because if they already have 21 officers,
That's correct.
are they going to bring them up to 23?
I have not been confirmed of where they're going and if they're going to stay here or what.
Thank you.
Anything else for the sheriff? Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate it. Do you have anything today, Madam Clerk?
Actually, we've been really busy gearing up for this 2018 election season. So just wanted to let everybody know that there's candidate guides, any information is already up on the Secretary of State's website. Will also be put up on our website, on our page. We're also gearing up. We're getting ready to do a whole switch over on our voter registration system that we're using now. Secretary of State is doing a statewide system that we all use, and we're going to do a brand new system. So we've been training quite a bit for that. Other than that, the staff's been working really hard. I'm really proud of them and very grateful. That's it.
You did a great job. Appreciate it. Mr. Chair, can I go back to the sheriff? I need to ask him another question. Mr. Sheriff, can you kind of just recap the meeting we had over with the state over the new system?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos. We did have a meeting in regards to tracking system. And going through that meeting, there was a lot of good information. We got a presentation from an individual that was retired from APD. He went over the whole system, and it's actually a great system. The thing that I was not happy with was the cost. We were, in the presentation, the state is willing to give us approximately 5 of the scanners and tools that we would need to utilize, but I would need more than 5, and the cost to it was close to $1,200 a piece to be able to fully equip what we would need to be able to use that system. But it is a great system, and the only drawback on me was that cost. And they did say there's possible grants out there that we could utilize to try and purchase some of the equipment, but as far as it being reliable and that, it looked very good and easy. It would be a change in the office for the staff to train them and get them to utilize this equipment. The one requirement that you do need to have is that you have to have computers in your cars, or they could install the software in your desktops in your office. So agencies that don't have computers in their cars would really want benefit out of it, in being able to write citations out on the field and print them out there and all that. So it's just, there was so much information given. It just discouraging was the cost.
I thought it was a very impressive system myself. Seeing that all the local municipalities were there, I think was a big plus. Seeing state police was there was a big plus. So there was a lot of interesting questions. So thank you for your comments.
Okay. About that? Okay.
So, this is the system that we talked about that tracks all the calls and where they're at, and it's like this giant data collection system, basically, right?
That is correct.
And in order to utilize the system, the state is providing the software, and we would have to provide the hardware. Is that true?
They do provide the software, and but they would provide some of the hardware, which the individual that was there that gave the presentation said that they could allow agencies up to 5 that they could donate to them, but then we'd be responsible for purchasing the rest.
And that's the 5 laptops that would be needed in order to run this?
No computers. It would be the scanner and
scanner, printer.
Yeah, the scanner and the printer.
What's the scanner for?
Well, They, just to scan, actually, it's kind of like a camera scanner where they scan driver's licenses and insurance cards and stuff like that, that goes straight into the system.
Okay, so you would have that in the patrol car, that scanner in the patrol car, and you would be able to scan the driver's license, insurance card, all that.
That's correct.
So they would provide 5 units. How many more would we need? How many units would we need to be complete?
Currently, I'm staffed for 21 patrol deputies.
So we'd need 16 systems, 16 additional
That's just
systems.
patrol. If I were to include my criminal, because the way we utilize what this is it'd be utilized for any operations that we do, even if we did special details, which we do Stone Garden, they would be down south writing citations and all that. That system is for that reason, to be able to scan the license, fill out the citation, and they would get a copy there.
So how many systems would we need to be fully operational?
I think we'd be safe if we have 25 systems.
So 20, we would need to provide 20 total?
Yes.
And what's the cost per system?
They were approximately $1,200. I have the numbers there in my office. I didn't bring them with me.
So about $24,000 to be complete.
And the expensive portion was a thermal printer. I thought it was a very neat system where they can have an iPad, have the person sign off on the iPad. It's downloaded into their printer. The thermal printer prints the ticket out. They give them a copy. It's automatically generated and goes straight to the magistrate office where they don't have to worry about transferring the documents over there. So I thought that in itself is going to save a lot of time.
So it's a time efficiency issue and also a data collection system.
That's correct. The other thing that we are fortunate to have laptop computers, but right now we've been having a lot of problems with them. We bought them 5 years ago, so they're starting to have issues, so we would have to replace some of these laptops and have an IT dedicated to this to be able to get us up and running right away, because like the instructor said in there, a lot what happens is when the system goes down, when you're out there on a traffic stop, the frustration kicks in and it just makes things worse.
So you're talking about having a laptop as a backup to this system?
No, they have to have a laptop in their cars to be able to use this system.
Laptop or iPad?
I truly believe it could be either or, because the way he showed us is that they go over there and have him sign it on the iPad that he had. So I'm sure, I think it could be either or.
Right, so $25,000 is just the start, because we're talking about massive expenses, which leads me to a question, if it's okay. I've heard that a lot of law enforcement agencies have grant writers within their department. Do you have someone that does that, or is that a good idea?
We do not have any grant writers in our office.
Okay. So do you write grants then for?
The ones that we are currently operating on are some that we just update every year, or when they expire, we just update them. And but we're not writing new grants.
Are there grants available for? Well, you said there was.
They said there was some. I just need to find them.
I think all we need to do is contact COG and they'll help us out. I'm sure Priscilla will help us out with some kind of a grant writer.
So I would really like to see a written proposal from your office about the total cost of implementing this system in your office.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one question? I'm a little confused about this system, and then through dispatch we're working on looking at some different systems. Is this the system that Luna County is using currently?
I'm not sure.
No.
I don't think they mentioned.
Barb's shaking her head. Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because there's some back-end costs involved with that, so I just want to make sure that we're talking about two different things, just to clarify for me. So, we're good. Thank you.
And I think it'd be good if the county and all the municipalities and the state were all on the same page. Dispatch. And with dispatch, of course. And that way, you know, if you look at your system in any computer, you'll be able to tell where all the police officers are at. It just, logistically, it just makes perfect sense.
Right.
Especially with big, major type of emergencies out there. So, or big emergency calls out there. So logistics, I think, can help out so much. And I really think it's a great system. And you know, it might cost us some money, but I think in the future, it's gonna it's going to help you as a department be more efficient. So I think it's a good thing.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Ramos, it is a great system. I think it would be very beneficial to have. The only drawback is the funding. So, but I realized Barb's here. Do you have anything to add to that, or that you are familiar with? But can you come to the mic, please? And hopefully we explained it right. Unless I know that you're working on something also.
The system that he's talking about is a very good system. It cuts down on a lot of office time. It cuts down on a lot of secretarial time as well, and it keeps the officers out on the street. There is a medium from a laptop and an iPad, and it's about as big as this paper, but it can also hold CAD and that ticket writing system on it. So, and they just take them in at the end of the night and stick them in a docking station, and it's a portable unit. So there are some different types of electronics that can be used for multi-purposes things, but the system that he's talking about would bring you guys advanced a little bit more into this and make it easier for them to do their ticket writing and processing, because the amount of time that they stand out on the street with anybody puts them at risk. So this will take that time down a great deal.
And this would integrate with dispatch and all that, would be a seamless integration with all of this.
Their system that he's talking about is a separate system from dispatch. So it's two different systems.
So would they come together and help each other, or would they
They complement each other?
No. This is a ticket writing system, and it goes directly to the courts. So it'll be interaction with the courts, but the dispatch system is a complete different system, and part of that reason is because we're bound by FBI rules and regulations that only certain people can see certain information that goes across that. So
is the state dispatch held to a different standard? Because supposedly, when I talk to the state police, they have a system in their dispatch that correlates with what they're doing.
They have a new system, and they've invited people to jump on that system with them. However, we have heard that some of the people that have jumped on that system with them, the first year is free. The second year, they're going to charge them over $100,000 to be on that dispatch system. So we're very reluctant about paying a maintenance fee of $100,000 for dispatch to be on a CAD system with them. This system might integrate with their CAD system, but right now we don't have that same dispatch system to be able to keep that separated.
Well, and also the presenter that gave the presentation stated that there's a lot of money out there for these type of systems, and a bunch of grants and different ways of collecting money to do this. So, I mean, even though we think $100,000 is a lot of money, hopefully there's ways out there that we can go out there and grab it. I think that's sometimes we're so stuck in everyday work that we don't think outside the box. So I think we need to get out there and really try and figure out what we need to do to get this done. Because I really felt it was going to better everybody's system here, or everybody's department.
One of the advantages when we spoke with the state police captain of using, I believe he's using Tracker, was that dispatch would have a visual on all the units that would know who was in the proximity of some issue without having to call and find out. And the sheriff is nodding. So if we aren't part of the state system and we have a separate dispatch system, do we lose that functionality?
You can have that functionality at any time as long as you put a tracker on their units. If that tracker GPS is on their units, you can have that functionality at any time, no matter what you use. State Police's new system that they just purchased, and they went through many years of doing it. When I was the dispatch director in Sierra County, I was asked to be on that committee as a local government because we also were backbone into state police. I liked the system, but I don't know that we can afford it. So that's what we're in the process right now of talking to different vendors to be able to find out what's the best option for us. The state police system that they have tracks every unit that drives around where they're at, as long as they have internet. And internet is the big thing in using all these systems. If you can keep the internet, then you're able to talk back and forth to the systems and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of technical involved in all this. When you say the state, there's several systems with the state that is also involved in this, as well as the FBI and that kind of stuff too. So some of the systems have to have a firewall to where it can't go out different directions, whereas some systems reach in and pull it out, but it's really complicated. But the system that he is talking about is a good system. I'm sorry, I don't mean to, you guys are looking like, she's talking in circles. It is kind of a big circle, and it is complicated. But right now, we are looking at the best option for this county, and the best option money-wise to make sure that we're able to provide the best service.
Barb?
Yes.
So you said that I've lost the word that you used. The thing that's the same size as the piece of paper.
Yes.
The medium, yeah.
Medium, yeah.
That's why it didn't stick, because I couldn't figure out why she used that word. But that medium goes in a docking station and downloads all the data from that deputy's shift, right?
It can be done that way.
That way.
Yes.
So that system is the system that's about $1,200 per medium, something like that, the sheriff said. Plus, we would need the GPS tracker to know where the deputy was at any given time, right? Does that, so if we did those two things, do we have enough reliable internet to be able to do that?
Is there enough reliable internet where you guys go?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Edwards, in regards to our system, currently what we have, we do have computers in our cars which are tough books. We do run Gobi cards on them, which are Verizon wireless cards, and they're sporadic because of cellular service. We go certain areas and no matter what, even our radios don't work. It's just the area, the rural area. So there will be times that you will lose your system when you're out there. It just depends what area you're at. So we're fortunate that we have these laptops already, and we already have the internet, which is true. You need to have internet to operate the tracks because you have to run the driver's license and all that through the state. But like I say, it's miss and catch and miss in certain areas that you're patrolling.
I would really like to see a proposal about how we could do this by the next commission meeting. Is that reasonable?
That's reasonable.
You have some time to do that? That would be really great. Thank you so much. Thank you both very much for all that information.
I actually want to get back to the clerk's presentation. Just very briefly, you mentioned the new voter registration system statewide. We've been doing online voter registration for what, a couple of years?
Yes.
This will continue to be online.
Right now, what we're doing is the system that we're using is called VRIMS, and Secretary of State is now taking over that, and we're using a new system called Service. So it's basically nothing's changing except for the type of system that we're using. We are connected statewide, still voter registration. Actually, I think it's going to be a little bit better.
Okay, well that's where I was moving. I mean, there's been concern obviously about tampering with voter registration databases in different states.
Yeah, actually, New Mexico is very. As far as tampering, I think we haven't been hit with anything, and the system that we're running now is very safe.
And all of that is exactly why I was asking the question. This change isn't going to...
No, this is just actually a new change in how we all stay connected with voter registration. So it has to do with what we do, basically, with everything that has to do with voter registration and anything as far as registering, all our election stuff, everything goes in there.
And my last question is just curious, if on Tuesday you had a lot of folks showing up to vote?
We had a lot of calls, actually. We did. Not too many people came in, but we did have a lot of calls with all the elections that were going on. We weren't one of them, so.
Yeah, I ran into somebody coming in to vote on Tuesday as I was leaving. Really?
Good job on staying on top of everything, because I know the past 20 years, you guys have gone through, 5 systems?
Yeah.
Since when I was there, so...
Well, you were there for the VRAMs.
Yes, ma'am.
So you know what we're looking at.
So, good job for staying on top of it and training your staff.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so we're going to move into commissioners' reports, but I want to make a statement before that. On Tuesday, right? Tuesday night? That is correct, right? We're going to have a special meeting that night. I want to make it perfectly clear that it is not an Air Force production and is not a scoping meeting for the Air Force. However, I would like to ask management to add I can't even think of my words, public input after the presentation by Mr. Schaefer. I don't believe Mr. Schaefer will be able to answer questions. If he does, that's just a bonus. Do not count on it. But you can. I do want to let the public give us their opinion. I think Mr. Schaefer will stay for those opinions. So it's probably not a question and answer period, but it would be a public input period.
And just so I understand the order of the meeting, he will present.
Well, yeah.
And then we as commissioners will be able to ask
we
questions.
Ask
correct?
Questions.
And so after those questions, then there will be public comment.
Hopefully he'll stay and listen and take notes of the public's issues, and hopefully most of the questions will be answered during his presentation in our subsequent question and answer period. Is that how you got it?
So should the questionnaire or the questions be geared to the individual commissioners that are representing that district? How are we going to do that? Because that's what I kind of read into the document.
Right, so if there's any questions directed to Mr. Schaefer, they must come from you. They can't come from the public, but the public can submit those questions to you. So I have a question for you, Mr. Chairman. You want public input on there. Do you want me to specify on there's a time limit, and do you want a sign-in sheet?
About 3 minutes.
And do you want a sign-in sheet where they have to sign up in order to speak? Or, I mean, I can just see this going on.
We probably ought to set a time limit too. I mean, and like when I told you this morning, if you just keep reiterating the same issue, all you're doing is falling on deaf ears. So.
Well, so I think we can ask folks to be courteous, respectful of our time. 3-minute limit. Please don't repeat. Comments have been made many times already. A sign-up sheet is fine with me. I don't think that restricts anybody's ability. It orders it pretty well.
And I wanted to do this today because that way it would be out in the press. And I expect civil discourse. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything less, and I'm sure the sheriff will maintain control if there's anything that isn't.
And frankly, I'm not that worried about it because, unlike some situations, this commission is not suggesting the overflights. So I don't think they'll be directing venom.
No, but we have a guest that we have to take care of too.
Fine point.
Okay. So that was what I wanted to say. And now we'll stand for commissioner reports. You want to start today?
I have a bunch of stuff today.
So, I think that, so I'm going to First, I'm going to say, actually, Chairman Caston pointed this out yesterday, that it was the one-year anniversary of the three of us being elected, and thank you for acknowledging that, and I think it's been... Yeah, I said happy anniversary. I think it's been a really interesting and challenging time, and I have really appreciated working with everybody and look forward to a long and fruitful relationship. In terms of the Holloman Air Force Base issue, I just want to reiterate that people really need to go to the Holloman Air Force Base website and follow the link there to make written comments. I also want to talk just for a minute about the public meeting that I went to last night that was held by the Department of Transportation to discuss the replacement of the two old suspension bridges on Highway 152 between Hillsborough and Kingston. Trestle bridges, sorry. Public comment can be made on that project through December the 8th. There will be maps, etc., available, and I'm going to say this really slow. The website is flh.dot.gov/NM/152-bridges. There was a lot of comment last night and apparently a lot at the previous two meetings regarding the fact that when these bridges are replaced, they will be able to handle commercial truck traffic and vehicles that are 53 feet long or longer. So it has the potential of changing the dynamics of the traffic on Highway 152. I think we all know that it would be really a challenge to drive one of those things over there, but as I think anybody knows who drives over that road very often, there are definitely people who try it. Your comments are important, and one thing I would encourage that I personally think is important in this process in order for us to just simply have more information is to encourage the DOT to complete a study, a geometry study that they started about 10 years ago. So that would inform whatever signage that they might post on 152 to let people know what the drive was going to be like. Also, the person to direct your comments to, Brent, BRENT.Nagen, NAGEN @DOT.gov. One thing that the county clerk didn't mention about the upcoming elections is that the deadline to file is March 16th, correct? Yeah. March 16th. As she said, the guides are available, and they tell you everything you need to know about running. And Chairman Caston and Commissioner Ramos are term limiting out, so there are 2 commission seats open. The assessor is running for re-election, correct? And a judge, probate judge. Great, thank you very much. And magistrate judge. Okay, thank you very much. So there are some offices open. I would just encourage people to visit the clerk's office for more information. Oh, 13th, excuse me. March 13th. Thanks for that correction. Heaven forbid we have like 10 people show up to run on the wrong day, right?
Especially if it's after.
Right.
And they all said,
Alicia said so. That's right. So the next thing I want to talk about is in the course of the last 11 months that I've been a commissioner, I have tried to listen very carefully to the things that people talk to me about, that I hear, that come to me through email and phone calls and personal visits. And one of the things that comes back to me often is concerns about pay for county employees. And I just want to address this by talking very briefly about basically County Financing 101. And this is a very simplified version of how county funding works, but I think it's helpful to understand how the county funds the work of supplying services to 30,000 people. There's essentially restricted revenue, which is funding that is designated for a specific purpose, and some of the common ways that comes into the county is through grants, bonds, or specific gross receipts tax increments. And then there's unrestricted revenue, which is generally used for general operating funds and comes into the county primarily through property tax proceeds, general gross receipts tax, and some revenue-producing services. Might include the airport, things like that. Although generally those accounts, like airport services, those funds come in to continue the services at the airport or the convention center. The other forms of revenue to the general fund are PILT, SRS, the copper tax, small counties assistance. And the general fund, about 35 to 40% of the general funds come from revenue streams that the county has no control over. So things like PILT, the copper tax, SRS, are essentially federal funds that come into the county. Well, copper tax isn't, but PILT and SRS are federal funds that are decided by Congress. So in the last 3 years, the general fund budget to the county has lost nearly $1 million. The other thing that I just want to reiterate about the general funds is that approximately 66.5% of the general funds goes to county payroll. So this, I think, is an illustration of how important sound and probably generally conservative fiscal management is required in order to provide the services that the county is tasked with. And I think that it has been my observation over the last 11 months or so that the county is doing a number of things that are fiscally conservative but intended to maximize work production, staff efficiency, opportunities for additional revenue, and perhaps most important, avoiding layoffs in light of losing funds and having such a significant amount of unrestricted funds be uncertain about whether we're going to have them. One of the most significant things that I think the county has done is made a commitment to county employees to ensure that their 100% paid health, dental, and vision benefits, life insurance, and PERA remain 100% paid. I know that it is very difficult to go without a raise for a long period of time. It's a challenging environment that we're all in, but I want to stress the value of the 100% paid benefits. And sometimes what happens when I dig into these kinds of things is I sort of get down into the weeds and really think about explaining this in a way that I think makes makes it easier to understand. So the approximate value of a county employee's benefits is $21,000 a year. I did a little math on that, and that is essentially equal to the financial value of that to a family is essentially equal to an additional salary in the household of $26,000 a year, or about $12.68 an hour. So if the after-tax benefit of the health benefits is $21,000, then you would have to have a wage earner in your household making $12.68 an hour to make up for that benefit. I think that is significant in a number of different ways, but primarily that 100% paid benefits is pretty rare in this economic environment, not just in Grant County, but very generally. The other thing I find that I looked at was what wage and salary levels are in Grant County, and that health benefit is more than what over 25% of Grant County residents make annually. So there is some real significance to that benefit, and I would encourage county employees who are feeling discouraged about their pay situation to really rethink the value of those benefits and to acknowledge that the county has worked very hard to maintain those benefits. The last thing I want to say about that is, because I did get into the weeds on this a little bit, I did a case study, a very basic case study on a friend of mine who is a local professional with an advanced degree who's been employed by the same organization for 12 years here in Grant County. And in the last 12 years, this person's workload has increased 100%. A 31.5 increase in the number of hours worked in order to keep up with that workload. A 32% increase in their health care contribution costs. And when you take all that together, despite a 28% increase in their salary, it actually translated into a 4.25% net loss in income over the last 12 years. The point is that we are struggling as a county. We haven't had a lot of economic recovery, and that I actually think the county, and when I say the county, I include the work of the commission and the county manager's office, has done a pretty amazing job of taking care of county employees. And I just want to take my hats off to you and say thank you for doing that. I think we've held the line pretty good against some serious economic downturn. The last thing I want to say is that I recognize that not everybody's going to be really happy with me for saying all this. But one of the things that I've done since I got elected is I hold office hours from 10 to noon every Tuesday except meeting weeks. And I appreciate people coming to see me, and I want to have conversations with people about their concerns. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to, thank you for indulging me for that long comment period.
That wasn't the weeds, that was the roots.
I can get down to my little tiny hairs if you want.
Commissioner Billings, you got anything today?
Yeah, I want to thank Commissioner Edwards for those comments and spelling that out for us in detail. It gave us a lot to think about. Doctor, we're really excited to have you and welcome you to Grant County, and thank you for, I know you've been busy, so it's not been a total waste of your time, but we're excited to have you here, and I look forward to meeting you further and getting we hope you feel comfortable here in our community and that you stay for a long time. Yeah, so just a reminder to myself and others when we're, the county commission can only process, we can only make decisions on the information we get that's accurate. And I can tell you what happens when we get inaccurate information from a citizen or another elected official or from each other or whatever. It just really throws a monkey wrench in things. Last month we were given some figures on collections from the Treasurer's Department and where the Treasurer's office in Grant County stood in comparison to the other counties in the state. We were told that we were in the top 5%, which would make us the top 1 or 2 counties in the state, and come find out the truth of that is. So I'm trying to remind myself and others, if you don't know, just say, I don't know. So Billy, if you don't know, just say, I don't know, or whoever. So the truth of it is we're about there may be 6 or 7 counties in the state who actually have worse collections than Grant County. That's the truth of it. County Manager Webb and I, last Monday, attended a meeting in Cliff addressing the increased amount of crime in that area. And this meeting was called by and hosted by State Police Sergeant David Neal, and there was about 125 people in attendance there. Officer Neal and Deputy Burns, Mike Burns from your department, Sheriff, from the Grant County Sheriff's Department, spoke at the meeting. They offered solutions and gave instruction on what citizens can do themselves to reduce crime. And most impressive to me, it maybe was the ideas that came from the audience members. And so they have a plan of action. There'll be a follow-up meeting, and I really think they're going to put a plan of action together, working citizens with the police and the Sheriff's Department to reduce crime in that area. It's pretty exciting. Let's see. I also wanted to acknowledge Commissioner Edwards' comments and Mr. Kasten's the other day about us being in office, or we were elected to office 1 year ago this week. And I just wanted to point out that since that time, and I don't expect an applause for this, and yes, I'm joking, but since that time, the national unemployment rate has fallen to 4.1%, which is reported to be one of the lowest almost the lowest in 17 years. And also the third quarter of 2017, the gross domestic product of the United States was up to 3%, which it's been a long time since it's been there. So yeah, we don't have much to do with that probably, but
especially if you look at New Mexico.
Yeah. So that's where I was going. Looking at New Mexico and Grant County, I think we need to be constantly mindful what we can do to get our gross domestic product up, which means people produce, and that means jobs, and it means prosperity for us, and also grow the domestic product of Grant County, because as we produce and export, that means money and prosperity for us. So I'd like that to be a focus of mine going forward. I have a question, but I guess, yeah, I'll say that there. Okay,
Commissioner? I mean, you're going to have to really get deep.
I'm as happy as a trout in a cold, clear stream. We're all talking money. This is remarkable. And so you generated some thoughts from me where I didn't originally have that much to say. One, Commissioner Edwards mentioned the lack of control in the county over a large portion of our budget. You did not mention the fact that we have very little control over our property tax income. And this is one of the more surprising, okay, well, this to me is one of the more surprising facts. Even if our property values go up, even if we do a great job with our economy so that, indeed, property values go up, the yield control formula at the state and the 3% limit on increasing values conspire to keep our, by definition of it, it's designed to keep our revenues constant. So, unlike the way I think most of us think about government revenues and economic growth, they do not always go hand in hand. And our property taxes are $4.8 million of our budget. That's not counting copper production, since that's a different calculation entirely. Compared to gross receipts, last year 1.1, I'm looking at it right now, 1.1 million. So the property taxes is by far the largest chunk, and unless you get net new value, that doesn't go up. So I wanted to add that to your list of things that are essentially beyond our control.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, of course. On the Holloman issue, you mentioned you encourage people again to go to the Air Force site and contribute comments. Not a bad idea. There are, I think, if you've been in my position over the last 30 years, you end up getting somewhat cynical, perhaps, about what happens to those comments you submit. And I imagine that that's been true for others from a different perspective, even. I would encourage folks not just to go to that site, but if they share the views of these organizations, to go to, for example, New Mexico Wilderness Alliance and the Gila Resources Information Project. Both have sites where you can submit comments. They will get to the Air Force, and they will be recorded as public comments and not lost. So I would encourage people to go to those sites. There may be others. I don't know if there are any sites in favor of the proposal or not, but the ones that I know that are opposed to it, we're all concerned that public comments get ignored. And this is one way to make sure they don't get ignored, is to go through those sites, not just the Air Force site. And I wanted to add that next Tuesday, not only is there a commission meeting at 6, there will be a rally out front of this building at 5. And Commissioner Edwards and I will be speaking. I'm not sure who else has been invited to speak at that rally, but that will be happening as well. I have no idea. Can't tell you if they'll be serving hot dogs. You are welcome to suggest it and supply. Yeah. And I think the last thing I wanted to say was to thank Christine for a great dance sponsored by Supporting People in Need with the Big Ditch Crickets. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for putting that on. And just re-express my support for the permanent supportive housing that you're working on. So thanks for that. That was all. Otherwise, Consumer Billy mentioned something I wanted to respond to as well.
If you think about it, we can come back.
And we can come back to it. Thank you very much.
You bet. Unless we adjourn. I too wanted to thank Commissioner Edwards for that great information. I know we discussed it in very small detail, but we've been giving this all these services to our employees for quite a while, and I believe we got that started right when we started in office with Brett and another commissioner. But it's really something to hear that there hasn't been any raises when we know that medical insurance and all these other different types of benefits are going up. And we try to mention that, but the only time the employees were really excited about it was when they first got it. And they say, oh my gosh, I got a $400 raise, I got a $600 raise, and that kind of stuff. But since then, it's been forgotten, and they're asking for raises. And one of my comments to some of the employees, well, guys, we could start charging for medical, and then maybe we can look at a raise at that point. But as of right now, our budget's too flat. So I'm glad you brought all this information up front and giving it to us. So appreciate that. I also want to bring up that when we first started, we didn't even have audits that were up to date. I believe we were 3 years behind. We had budgets that we thought were correct, but we didn't know.
And now it is so nice to be able to run the county and know what our numbers are. So thank you very much for all your hard work, Charlene, and Commissioner. I mean, you've done a great job being our chairman, so appreciate you. I did have a Southwest County Commission Alliance meeting this last month, and it went very well. We talked economics and what is contributing to every county's economy, and we had a great turnout. We had Hidalgo, Catron County, Grant County, Luna County involved in the conversation, so it went very well. We also brought up different projects that we wanted within our counties, and we all agree that we really feel that we need to be able to come up with different ways of saving our affluent waters. And I know Luna County has a big project right now that they want to approach the Interstate Stream Commission on also, as well as we do with our affluent water problem that we have with the Twin Sister Creek project. Catron County has a project over there where they want to develop a ponding system. So, I mean, we're all in the same boat, and I think by getting together with the Southwest County Commission Alliance, we can approach the state and hopefully start getting different types of funds available for our different projects, at least to get the studies started. So that was a really good meeting. I also wanted to bring up wishing Silver volleyball and football a good luck in the state tournaments, and Cobre's volleyball team a good luck. And again, just budget woes are always a problem, and it's just been very easy to work with the county knowing what our budget is. We all wish we had a lot more money and they able to award our employees with more monies to take home to their families, but I think we've been very responsible and doing what we had to do to run this county. So it's been a good 7 years, and we've got 1 year left. I'm looking forward to being conservative for the next year, and after that it's somebody else's puppy. But thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Did you think about?
I did, but I'm going to save it for another day.
That's fine.
I just want to say one other thing that I skipped because I have so many little notes in front of me. One of the things that has been absolutely key to my success in the last 11 months, and I'm relatively certain I can speak for Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Billings on this, is the county manager's open door policy I can't even imagine how many millions of questions we've asked her in the last 11 months. And I want to acknowledge that I think Charlene does an amazing job, and I have learned probably more than I ever dreamed I needed to know to do this. And it really is because, one, I meet with Charlene every week, and two, because she has had an open door policy, and sometimes some of those millions of questions have been the same question over and over and over again. So thank you, Charlene, for all that you do.
Anybody else? I don't feel well enough to talk today, so I think we'll just take a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.